Okay, so just to kind of show you what I was talking about earlier with the sourdough, this is the little like spatula thing that I have that I let the sourdough dry on, and then I have this little jar that I already washed my hands and all that good stuff just to keep it from being contaminated. But I just put the little pieces in the jar. And that's kind of like my backup. And I always keep a bowl under my starter, so that way when it's warm and it decides to go crazy, it doesn't get all over everything. This isn't exactly done, and you can tell because it's still, I don't know, it's hard to tell in the video, but it's rounded at the top. So it's still technically feeding on the flour that I gave it this morning, but it's still good to feed it. It's nice and bubbly, which is a good sign. It means it's doing good. But I'm going to go ahead and feed it anyway, just to kind of show you what I was talking about. So I always scrape it down a little bit. And then I personally just dump what I don't want in the trash, and I don't keep a lot because mine's pretty active and healthy. Because mine is active, I really don't need to keep a lot. Like, I'm just hanging on to a little bit. And this is still more than I normally even keep in the jar. So that's about what I keep in the jar. When you're re-establishing your starter though, I would recommend leaving more than that until it's nice and healthy. Mine just goes through food really quick. Okay. So that is literally all that I have in my jar, and what's on the spatula. Then I add some water. Probably a lot more than I really needed, to be honest, but it's all good. There we go. Okay. And then I just mix what's in here into the water. So I get like a milky colored water. I also switch up my jars semi-frequently just to help keep them clean. But I don't do it every single day. And I always discard in the trash. Don't discard like that big chunk like down your sink or anything like that, because it can cause issues. So that's roughly what it should look like. Just like milky water. And then I like to clean down the sides of the jar. I just take a little piece of paper towel that I get damp, clean up my jar a little bit, because once it dries on, it's kind of hard to get it back off unless you're sitting there soaking in it. to keep it clean. I usually try to wipe the top and then work on the outside if I need to, because I don't want to bring the contaminants from the outside of the jar into the jar. So I try not to do that. I would say that is good enough for now. And then I'm just using, I alternate between bread flour and all-purpose flour, and sometimes I'll do like a 50-50 mix. It just depends. I kind of change it up just to keep the starter healthy, and I don't know. In my head it says it's healthy, so we'll see. So far I haven't had any issues or anything weird happen to my starter though. Like no weird pink mold or cam yeast or anything like that, so must be working. And I'm just mixing. I'm not really actually measuring. I'm just dumping in and mixing it up until I get the consistency that I'm after. If you're reviving the starter, I would recommend having it be a little more on the liquidy side, just so that way the yeast can move around freely and start getting active again. So if I was reviving a starter, I would probably have it about this consistency. It's not like super wet, but it's not like real thick. But because mine consumes food fairly quickly, I have to make it thicker so that it has more to feed on and all that. And I'm using a little, like 1 tablespoon scoop, but I'm not like actively thinking about how many scoops I'm putting in. I'm just getting the consistency that I want. Obviously you don't have to do it over a bowl. I just have the bowl. I just try to scrape everything down. These little rubber spatulas are pretty nice though. But it's a pretty thick consistency. Sometimes I'll go a little thicker. It just kind of depends. But I think right now this is fine. And this jar isn't that big either. And then I just take my little spatula and I put it over the lid of my other jar that I put the dried pieces in so that it can dry out. And then I come back to this, tear off another piece of paper towel, and clean my edges up again. And start from the inside and work my way out if need be. But I'm not like down there like touching any of it any more than I absolutely have to. And then clean up the edge. And then I just use like saran wrap or press and seal. It works pretty good. It keeps bugs out, but also keeps it, I don't know, just keeps it clean. And sometimes I'll reuse it a few times, but that's it. That's my little starter. I don't put a rubber band or anything just because I'm really used to doing this, but you could put like a rubber band at the edge, where the line is, so that way you can see when it starts like doubling in size. I'm fairly active with mine and I know what it's doing all the time, so I don't need to do that. You could also take like a dry erase marker and mark where the line is. That's another option. But basically you'll want to at least feed it once a day. And when you're doing reviving, I would definitely leave more of what is left behind, like maybe down to here. This isn't a very big jar. It's just kind of like, it's a, I don't know, it's a ball jar, and I think it's only like a 6-ounce jar. So it's not very big, but I like the markings on it too, because then I can also keep track that way. But that's kind of what I do. I hope that helps. And then I just put it back where it belongs.